Right, let's just dive straight into this explainer. Picture this. You're listening to an intellectual, maybe someone you really admire. They're speaking with this absolute, unflinching confidence, just casually dropping these massive polysyllabic words and weaving together sentences that sound incredibly profound. You're sitting there, leaning in, completely captivated by their authority. But then they finish talking, and you're hit with this really terrifying realization. They didn't actually say anything. Nothing. Zero. That is the exact unsettling feeling we are unpacking today. Welcome to the word salad illusion. It's literally a psychological trick used by people who want the authority of being an expert, but, without doing any of the actual thinking, research, or hard work. Today, we're going to decode exactly how these manipulative speakers use fake eloquence to confuse you, and I'll give you a real-time framework to expose their empty arguments. So let's get into Section 1, the faux eloquence con. Basically, why dishonest debaters love hiding behind big words. To really understand the problem here, we have to look at their true motivation. Like, what drives someone to talk like this? Well, usually, it's panic. When they are backed into a corner and simply do not have the facts or the logic to actually defeat your argument, they start plucking these loquacious fruits from the tree of faux eloquence, which means dispensing with comprehensible English and retreating into a safe refuge of near unintelligibility. They take their complete lack of a point and they dress it up in the finery of academic language and technical terminology just to create a massive smokescreen. The legendary comedian W.C. Fields actually hit the nail on the head with this. He said, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then baffle them with bullshit. And honestly, that is their entire playbook right there. They want to trick the uninformed observer into seeing this tower and colossus of intellectual capability. But if you look closely and strip away all that vocabulary, it's really just a shot mannequin and a cheap powdered wig. They're completely faking it. And this is a way bigger problem than you might think. Just look at this recent UNESCO study. A staggering 62% of content creators admit they do not even verify the accuracy of the information they share with their audience. 62%. Let that sink in. The majority of the time, they are banking on the fact that as long as they're charismatic and confident, they can just coast by. Please, do not let a nice vocabulary trick you into trusting a fraud. Which brings us to Section 2, the appeal to complexity. This is the psychological trap that literally makes you back down. This is the agitation phase of the illusion. This is how they actually trap you. The appeal to complexity is a very specific logical flaw. Instead of giving you clear reasons or evidence, the speaker presents the issue as so incredibly difficult and highly technical that ordinary people couldn't possibly understand it. They use words like complex or highly technical as a literal shield to dodge giving you a straight answer. And the worst part? They weaponize your own fear of looking stupid. Because let's face it, nobody wants to raise their hand in a crowded room and admit, hey, I have absolutely no idea what you just said. To see how absolutely absurd this really is, just contrast the jargon with reality for a second. You might hear a phrase like synergistic epistemological alignment. Sounds weighty, right? Important. Super intimidating. But in plain English, it just means working together. When you strip it all down, the complexity isn't there to actually explain the concept. It's there to hide the fact that the concept is incredibly basic.
It's really the persona of the intellectual con man. Think about the famous reformed con artist, Frank Abagnale Jr., right? He passed as a pilot and a doctor simply through his own unflappability and by dressing the part. The word salad is the exact intellectual version of this con. They rely on unflappability, they dress the part, maybe throwing on a tweed jacket or some expensive glasses, and they absolutely assume you're going to be too starstruck by their vocabulary to challenge their authority. So complexity replaces an actual argument, and you back down.
Let's make this real for a second. Have you ever been in a corporate boardroom or maybe a team meeting and caught yourself nodding along to a phrase like synergistic alignment or paradigm shift, just so you didn't look out of the loop in front of your boss? Be honest with yourself. We have all done it. But here's the real secret. I can almost guarantee you that the coworker who used that phrase had absolutely no idea what they were saying either. All right, Section 3, the jargon translation framework. Let's talk about stripping away the fluff in real time. This framework is your exact step-by-step method to defeat the illusion. You literally cannot let them hide behind their shield of vocabulary anymore. It's 3 simple steps. Do not nod along, force the translation, and expose the complexity shield.
Let's break down how you actually execute each of these in a real conversation.
Step 1. It's entirely internal, but it is absolutely critical. Do not nod along. The absolute worst thing you can do when someone serves you a word salad is to pretend you understand it just to save face. Why? Because the very moment you nod, you give up your power. You nod and suddenly they own the frame of the conversation and you are playing by their rules. You have to consciously stop that physical reflex of agreeing with nonsense.
Next up is step 2. Force the translation. You must strip away the finery of their academic language. You literally stop the debate, look at them, and ask this exact question. That was a lot of very complex terminology. For the sake of clarity, can you summarize your actual argument in one simple sentence? This is brilliant because it forces them to speak in plain English. If they actually understand the topic, they can simplify it. If they can't do it, well, they're exposing themselves as a fake. But what if they push back? What if they say, well, it's just too complex to simplify? That's exactly when you hit step 3, expose the complexity shield. You look right at them and ask, which part of this issue is actually complex, and exactly how does that complexity refute the argument I just made? Boom. This simple, pointed question completely bypasses their vagueness. It drags the manipulator kicking and screaming back to clear, logical reasoning. They have nowhere left to hide.
Now, what if you're dealing with a deeply arrogant pseudo-intellectual, like someone who absolutely refuses to drop the act no matter what you do? That is when you use what I call the ultimate psychological cheat code to just completely destroy their fake confidence.
You look them dead in the eye, give a little smile, and ask, I understand all of those words individually, but together they don't form a coherent point. Do you have any actual data or just adjectives? Delivering this calmly calls out the exact mechanics of their illusion, and I promise you, you will watch their unearned confidence just evaporate in real time. It is incredibly powerful.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember the difference between a genuine debate and a theatrical performance. A genuine debate seeks to uncover the truth, right? It actively avoids faux eloquence because clarity is the ultimate goal. And most importantly, it exposes ignorance that's masked by vocabulary. Real intellect simply does not need to hide behind a word salad.
So the next time someone tries to baffle you with a barrage of syllables, you have a choice. Are you going to continue to let their vocabulary intimidate you, or are you ready to expose the illusion? Remember the framework. Demand clarity, force the translation, and do not let the tweed jacket and the big words stop you from demanding the truth. Stay sharp, master your critical thinking, and go take control of the conversation.